couple of months ago, I was in Berlin at Super Booth. It's like a really cool music tech expo stroke festival, all set in the woods just outside Berlin. And if you're into your synths and stuff, I'd highly recommend it. It's a way of going and speaking to people about all the nerdy stuff we love without anyone thinking you're a lunatic. And this year, when I popped into the sequential room, I had a good old chat with them. And when I looked around the room, I pointed out that I either own or have owned almost everything in there. The Prophet 8, Rev 2, Prophet 6, OB6, OBX8, Prophet 5, Tempest, the Vintage Pro 1, a Take 5, a Bass Station 2, the original Bass Station, and a Supernova, which was the backbone of my studio in the 90s. And I bought all of those synths myself. In fact, my first ever Starsky Car YouTube video was a track I made with the Tempest, the Prophet 6, the Prophet 8, and the original Vintage Pro 1. And we came to the conclusion that it would be quite nice if they sent me something to demo without me having to buy it. And here we are 3 months later, and I've not got one, but I've got two synths in for demo. It's the Take 5 and the TEO 5 desktop units. If you know this channel, you'll know I've got a Take 5 already, but I've never played with the TEO 5 except in Super Booth, but I do have an OB6, so for me, this will be really interesting. And if you've not seen any of my other Take 5 demos, my overall impression is that it's a very good alternative for a Prophet 6, and if you like to use built-in effects, it surpasses the older Prophet 6 in quite a few ways. So although they're at the lower end of the Sequential and Oberheim budgets, they're by no means cheaper synths as in lower quality. They're just a different take on things. The keyboard versions of these have been out for a couple of years, so I'm not going to go into too much detail about what they are and how to use them. In this, I'm going to really look at which one of these might suit you best. And of course, we all know the righteous path is to buy both of them, but most people are regular humans who can't afford both of them. They do have different characters, so I'm going to listen to the sonic quality in this and see which, as I say, might suit you best. But first, let's take a look at this form factor, because these suit being desktop units possibly more than they do in their compact keyboard form. With a 3.5 octave keyboard, which is the same as the Mini Moog, they do fit nicely in a smaller studio. I sold my Prophet 6 and kept the Take 5 because the Take 5 fits neatly in the space next to my OB6. But as a polysynth, it's obviously slightly compromised by the length of that keyboard. Here's my Take 5 next to my Prophet 5, and here it is next to my OB6. So the keyboard versions are quite compact, which can be a good thing, but if I do need a bigger keyboard, it's next to a bigger keyboard and below a bigger keyboard and underneath a bigger keyboard, so it's not an issue for me whatsoever. But these things in this format are perfect. These don't feel compact or compromised in any way. They feel like proper grown-up desktop polysynths. Here's my Access Virus, and if anything, the Take 5 and the TEO 5 feel a bit more spacious than them, a bit more luxurious perhaps. They're a little bit bigger, but you know, there's lots of space between the knobs. Everything's easily accessible. Yeah, so they don't feel compromised in any way. And as far as build quality goes, we've got absolutely no concerns. If we just take this off, we've got metal shafts on, well, I'm not taking it off all the pots, but metal shafts on the pots. That's the same over here. There we go. Hopefully you can see that. Let's try and put it back on without breaking anything, because it's not mine. Nothing wiggles except for the table they're on. That's actually moving the whole table. We've got 5-pin DIN in, out and through, as well as internal power. So we've got proper power connectors, no external transformers here. So these are about as solid and pro as you're gonna get. But if you don't know yet, what are they? Just in case you've not come across either of them before, they're both 5-voice polysynths. So we've got 2 LFOs, we've got 2 envelopes, we've got 2 channels of effects, we've got an arpeggiator, we've got a sequencer, they've both got overdrive, vintage mode, we've got unison, we've got hold, we've got the same bank setup, 256 factory, 256 user. We've got 2 oscillators with a sub on each and a single filter. Although we do have a filter in the effects, but yeah, a single analog filter. So analog oscillators and analog filters on both. Yeah, so essentially they're almost the same synth, or more accurately, 2 synths based on the same platform with a very few but very, very important differences. And those differences all lie in this little rectangle here on both of them, because along the top everything is identical, The envelopes are identical, and all the control features, things down the sides, are identical. So the only bits that are different are the oscillators, the mixer section, and the filters. I should also mention that although the envelopes are functionally the same, the responses are modelled from the Prophet 5 and the OB8. Here's the response from both, with the attack, decay and release set on maximum and the sustain on 50%. So you do get different characters from the envelopes as well as the oscillators and filters. On the Take 5, the oscillators resemble the Dave Smith or sequential designs, with the mix in 1 and 2. If you've ever used a Pro 8, Rev 2 or a Prophet 6, all this will be very familiar to you. Plus we've got the filter from the Prophet 5 Rev 4, or based on the Prophet 5 Rev 4. On the TEO 5, TEO being Thomas Elroy Oberheim, we've got Oberheim style oscillators. And if you've ever used anything with an Oberheim style oscillator, so any other synths or soft synths, you'll instantly recognize all this. And the filter on this is a state variable SEM filter, so low pass to notch to high pass, which is obviously different to the 24 dB low pass that you get on the Take 5. So these are the bits that I want to look at today. What differences do these sections make? How does it change the character of the synths? Which one might suit your needs best? And interestingly, it's like having a Prophet and an Oberheim on the table in front of me to compare them. I've never compared a Prophet and an Oberheim in the same video before, which is odd. But yeah, so this is going to be really interesting. We'll start off by taking a look at the oscillators then, and what's quite interesting here is that they both use the SSI 2130 analog oscillator chip, but they use it in different ways. So they're using the same components to produce completely different results. So it's a little bit like a discovery lesson in how people design synths, because the Dave Smith and the Oberheim obviously both go about it in completely different ways. And I've set it up here. I keep on knocking this modulation wheel. Set it up with the same tone on both synths. So where are we? Just got to make sure we get my there we go, octaves right. And you might notice that's in stereo, and it's only a single oscillator, and that's because I've got it in binaural mode, as it were. Binaural, is there a mode between two synths? But I've got one coming out of the left and one coming out of the right. So the Oberheim is on the right and the Take 5 is on the left. And I just wanted to show that before you do anything, they do sound pretty similar, but then you start to play around with the oscillators and they do different things. With the sequential, we move through the wave shapes, so sine to a saw, to a square, to a pulse, to nothing. That's how you get your PWM. And with the Oberheim, it's different in that we've got the option of a sawtooth, triangle, sawtooth and triangle, or the square, or I should say the pulse, the sawtooth and the triangle all together, so you can mix and match however you like. So you can have the sawtooth and a bit of PWM, or you can have all three at once, which you can't do on the Take 5. So there's your PWM, but you can have PWM from a sawtooth to a square. So immediately you start playing with these, you see you've got different starting points to making your tones. So although they do use the same chip, they are completely different, aren't they? So we've got the octaves here. Whereas on the Oberheim, we run through all the frequencies. Pitch control of plus or minus 7 semitones. If you want to do that over here, you've got to go into the menu system. So we go into the program and we go to Oscillator 1 detune. I think that's about half a semitone. So you move up the semitones using this, and then you tune it so exactly where you need with that. So you can still get all the same tuning, you just do it in different ways. They've both got sync. If I come here, put sync on. If you're doing this manually on the Take 5, you can bend it wide, plus or minus 7 semitones again. Over on here on the Oberheim, we put sync on. You've got more range with the knob. It's a little bit glitchy because it's going from semitone to semitone, but on both of them it's perfectly smooth if you use the envelopes. I won't go into that, you know what sync does, but I'm just trying to show that the differences in these really, from the oscillator perspective, is more about how you approach the programming. If you're used to blending the oscillators with a knob and you like to get really precise values between the two of them, or volumes between the two of them and the sub, then this is much easier to use than the Oberheim, whereby we just let's put them both onto a sawtooth, take sync off. We just have oscillator 1 on or off, 2 on or off, sub on or off, then the noise. And I must confess I never noticed this at first, but as you turn them on and off, they appear in the menu, so it's actually really easy to change the levels of them. Oscillator 1, oscillator 2, the sub and the noise, just by holding the button down. Take 5 again, we've got the noise. If we put the noise on, that's the volume of the noise, pink or white. On the Oberheim, we've got to go into the menu to change the noise from white to pink. So let's take the oscillators off, put the noise on, noise level. And then next menu item is the noise type, white or pink. So you can do pretty much the same thing on all of them. It's just a different way of accessing those parameters. It really just depends on how you use your synths and what type of tones you like making. The next thing we're going to look at, we do have FM on them, by the way. I'll look at FM in a minute. But the next thing I want to look at is the filter, because this is the bit that really does change the tone. I'll put them on the left and right again, and I'll put a chord on. And you can hear there that there are distinct differences between the two of them. Let's turn the resonance up. I'll play them both independently in a second, but you can hear there, the left speaker, the Take 5 is much more resonant. You're getting much more singing. And if I bring in this tone I've created as well, I've made like a sort of acidy bass tone. And I have tried to match the envelopes. But you're getting much more punch from the sequential. We'll drop this down a couple of octaves. And that's because it's a 24 dB filter, it's cutting out more and it's got more resonance as well. It's still got punch, but it hasn't got that Prophet style punch. And if I just put the decay on full on both of them and just do like a bit of a sweep, you'll hear a big difference. I'll put the resonance all the way up on both of them, put the filter all the way down. And independently, this one's coming from a lot higher up. It sounds a lot grittier, doesn't it? But that's not like saying the Oberheim's not good. The Oberheim's got a different character, and the character of the Oberheim is the 12 dB, nice, subtle, lovely thing that really works well on pads. So if we go and create a pad, I think I have one here that I've prepared earlier. So they should be identical. I've got the LFOs working at the same rate and all this sort of stuff. So and then individually. Oh, that's lovely, that, as that drops down that bass, isn't it? Yeah, so there are differences there. The Oberheim is much more Oberheim-like. It's much more subtle. It's a bit smoother, you might describe it as. But of course, we've also got different states on this. So we've got, let's take the resonance off for now. Got a notch. You don't get any of this on the take 5, which is a blend between the low pass and the notch. And then a high pass. And we've also got band pass mode in there as well. We go to the filter settings. Now we're in bandpass mode. Oscillator 2 can also bypass the filter as well, gives you loads of options for different tones. So menu, page 12, filter 2 bypass on. So now oscillator 2 isn't going through the filter. Oscillator 1 is. Let's drop this down a bit. So a fair amount of different things to get from that. Let's take it off bandpass. Or bypass. So there's lots more to play with on the Oberheim as far as the filter goes. The Take 5 does have this drive circuit that the Oberheim doesn't have. It's driving into the filter, like overdriving the oscillators. You can hear it doing stuff there. But you've not got as much to play with, as I say, as on the Oberheim. So I think we've looked at the filters. Other thing I wanted to look at was the FM actually, because on the Oberheim we get this through zero FM. So let's just go back to another simple tone. So if you bring in the FM on the Oberheim, you can still hear the bass frequency of the oscillator. You can hear all the cross-mod madness on top of it, but you can still hear the same bass pitch. And when you go mad, it does change pitch a bit, but it's a lot more controllable than the Take 5, which is more like stuff like the Mini Moog and the Profits and stuff that don't have through zero. And when you put that on, so turn it up, as soon as you add the FM, you change the pitch. And you'll notice you're not getting loads of FM on that, whereas on this we're getting a lot more compared to. You can add more in the mod section on this. If we add DC to the oscillator 1 octave, you can still get those nice clangy high-pitched metallic tones. You've just got to dig into the menu to get them. So the Take 5, it's easier to set up the oscillators, but on the Oberheim I find it's easier to use the FM. I'm possibly going into too much depth on the cross mod here, but I just wanted to get across that you can do most things on both of them. You can get really nice crispy stuff from the Take 5, but it's easier to do it all on the Oberheim, and the Oberheim has through zero cross mod, which means the tuning stays stable. So if we come onto this again, let's put this on. It's detuned. You have to retune oscillator 1 to get the whole thing back in tune again, which is what you do on the Mini Moog. It's what you do on the Prophet 5, for example. But you don't have to do it on the Oberheim. So that brings me to the end of the main differences for these sort of 3 sections: oscillators, mixer and filter, oscillator, mixer and filter. I think that brings me to the end. I hope you've got a good idea of what the 2 synths do, what they sound like and the character of both of them, without repeating myself over and over. The Oberheim is smoother sounding, it's got a more interesting filter, there's more you can do with it. The Take 5's got a more simple filter, but it is much punchier, and the way the oscillators are set up on both of them are different. The X mod on the Oberheim I think is easier to use, but you can do most of it except for the through zero modulation on the Take 5. So very similar, but they do have completely different characters. So I hope that was of some use to somebody somewhere. If it was, please do subscribe, ring the bell, join me over on Patreon. You get access to patches, samples, tutorials and all sorts of other little goodies. And also do check out my starskycar.com website, where I do have patches and samples and things that you can pay for, which is really nice when people do that. I may do a sound bank for one or both of these actually. I've not done one for the Take 5, I don't think, even though I've had the Take 5 for a couple of years. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for staying to the very end, and I will see you next time.